musiba, this is a tragic masa'ib, but this is so that you cry for Zahra and Awladul Zahra, for there are three that have their ribs crushed in history of Ahlul Bayt. The first was told to us by Shaykh Al-Isfahani. Shaykh Al-Isfahani has these couplets which are baqi till today. He talks about the first one who had their ribs crushed. He says, تجرأت من غسس الزمان ما جاوز الحد من البيان الباب والجدار والدماء شهود صدق ما به خفايا. He would say ولست أدري خبر المسمار سل صدرها يا خزانة الأسرار. He would say, I don't know about the wounds on Zahra. Ask the chest of Zahra about its wounds. For the first to have her ribs broken was the mother that when she would stand for salah, places one hand on the wall and the other on her broken ribs, saying, Ya Abul Hassan, whenever I breathe, there is a pain in my chest. And the second to have his ribs broken, the poet would say, حيث الحسين على الثرى خيل الإدا طهنت ذلوءا. The body of Hussein was on the ground.
Live in Karbala, the holy city of Karbala, during the nights of Muharram, the nights of Masa'ib, the nights of calamities. And as you can hear, probably the mawkibs, the processions going past the channel as they have been throughout the day in honor of Al-Qasim, son of Imam Al-Hassan, whose night it is we are commemorating today. Inshallah, we will touch upon Al-Qasim throughout the show and the youth's role, learning from Al-Qasim, son of Imam Al-Hassan, inshallah. But before we do continue, if you can lead us in the ziyarah of Imam Hussein Sayyid. I know there's a loud noise from the procession, but inshallah they keep on coming. Inshallah they keep on growing, and we can inshallah join them throughout the night, inshallah. Bismillah Sayyidi.
Sallallahu alayka ya gharib al-ghuraba. صلى الله عليك يا رحمة الله الواسعة. صلى الله عليك يا سفينة النجاة. صلى الله عليك يا مصباح الهدى. صلى الله عليك وعلى أنصارك والمستشهدين بين يديك. صلى الله عليك وعلى ابن أخيك القاسم ابن الحسن المجتبى ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلى الله عليك وعلى أخيك البطل. صلى الله عليك وعلى أخيك ساقي عطاشا كربلاء أبي الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين، وعلى أختك الصابرة عقيلة بني هاشم الصديقة الصغرى زينب الكبرى ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Ahsantum Sayyidina, thank you very much for that beautiful recitation. Now Sayyidina, we will be looking at different mawakib and different reenactments throughout the show. But the topic of today's show is how the rituals and the sha'ar of Imam Hussein are a gateway for the youth, and not just the youth, for everyone in general, but specifically we'll be talking about the youth today and how they can change their life through the different sha'ar of Imam Hussein. Can you give us a few pointers brief pointers in terms of this, inshallah?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allow me as an introduction to start off with a basic clarification, and inshallah we'll go on to continue with our discussion tonight.
Inshallah.
As we have come to realize over the last 8 or 7 nights that the story of Karbala has many dimensions. Whatever angle you come to concentrate and look from a top view on the story of Karbala, you would be able to find out that it's a story of a revolution. There is a dimension of reform. There is a dimension of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a reminder that you should always remain steadfast in your faith in the wake of all calamities, and sacrifice everything you have for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And walking today in the streets of Karbala, especially in the vicinity of the shrines of Imam Hussein and Abu Fadl Abbas and Bain al-Haramain, you would be able to realize how much, especially the youth, were engaged in such a powerful manner with the processions, with the reenactment of the reform that Al-Qasim ibn al-Hassan had showed in terms of being a youth on the day of Ashura.
On that point as well, the viewers can see on our screen, even in London, Shabab Al-Akbar Youth, Al-Akbar Foundation, are doing a procession as we speak live from London, where they are reenacting what is going on in Karbala at the moment, which is not done often outside of Karbala. But alhamdulillah, this organization for years have been upholding the sha'air, and they have been doing so even throughout the 10 nights of Muharram. They ensured that majalis were to be held, and you can see on the screens now amazing work is being done with the dress of Al-Qasim, with the war drums, and obviously with the reenactment as well.
Of course, why shouldn't they be doing this when they are a group of youth who have dedicated their time and their energy and their efforts in showing the whole world and relating them to the call of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein on the day of Ashura. It is our responsibility, it is our duty, wherever in the world we are. If we are alone or a group of people, we should always not hesitate to inform others, because this is what Islam is about. It's about inviting others from outside the message of Islam to come and enjoy and celebrate in celebrations and mourn in times of mourning what happened in the Islamic history. So here we find that the youth, they are representing a clear image of what they have learned over the years from their previous generations, from their parents, from their grandparents, about how things should be done in days and nights like Muharram.
It doesn't come from nowhere, and inshallah we can teach the following generations after us what we have learned from previous generations. And inshallah they can evolve it based on their time and what the needs of their time is, inshallah.
Inshallah. So we were talking about how the events of Ashura and the story of Karbala has many dimensions. Revolution, reform, it encourages you, it calls you towards remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single stage. It pushes you to stand firmly in your faith in the wake of all of the masa'ib and trials and tribulations that one faces during their lifetime. And that's very important, especially the youth today. Many of them, the majority of the youth, wherever they may be, they tend to go through tests which are difficult, trials, tribulations, calamities, masa'ib, that they are in dire need. When they are facing these situations, they are in dire need of help and support. And what a better place and what a better way to get reassurance but from the majalis of Imam Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. So it's very important, it's of vital importance to understand the message of Karbala, the story of Karbala, especially if you are a young individual, because at the moment you have the full capacity ahead of you of your life, you are full of energy, you have not exhausted yourself,
Yes.
you have your life to look forward to, and the fact that you are engaged in commemorating the tragedy of Karbala and learning from the story of Karbala and from the stance of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, it will mean that you will be able to practice the message and the lessons you learn in the majalis from Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and use it to help you to go through these masa'ib and these calamities and these trials and tests.
So it goes both ways. You use the masa'ib and the majalis to better your life, and at the same time you need to seek knowledge for you to understand the masa'ib and shed a tear properly for the masa'ib of Imam al-Hussein, essentially.
Putting it in a basic way,
Yeah.
that Karbala continues to be an inspiration and a guidance for all humanity,
Ahsan.
for every single individual,
Regardless
Karbala,
of race or creed or religion.
Exactly. Karbala will continue to inspire millions and millions of people over the coming years and centuries, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Which will inform us that these challenges that are faced by the youth today, what are they? How should they face these challenges? And what are the answers or the ways that they can solve and meet those challenges? For example, in recent years, the world has been facing globalization tendency. Globalization, which means that life today is rotating around a unified global system, which living in Iraq or living in London, in the UK, or somewhere in the Middle East or Africa, you will be able to communicate and share your culture and your thoughts and your life with other people elsewhere.
Anywhere in the world, yeah.
So this globalization has positive side effects and at the same time has negative side effects. The most basic example that I can give to clarify this image in our viewers' minds is the very easy way to access the social network or the social platforms. The fact that with a click of a button or with a click on an application, you are able to access trillions of information and media from all over the world.
You can upload something as fast as you mentioned. Today, how many videos did we upload on our phones during the processions?
If not thousands, hundreds.
So, and people were responding instantly from other places in the world. So it can be used as a very useful tool for anyone who has the love for the Ahlul Bayt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But let's concentrate today on the negativity of this global, let's say, pandemic, which is more serious than the virus which is going around. This virus could be controlled. The vaccine is out. People will be cured, and they can go to do their normal daily chores and routines. But this globalization is affecting the youth. And when I say the youth, the Muslim youth, the Shia youth, the faithful youth, in a way where in some instances they are lacking the understanding of their own religion. It's so dangerous that we, myself and yourself, when we are amongst our friends and our community back home, we can clearly see and understand the fact that these youth, they are going through troubles and problems
Very true.
that affect them in their understanding of religion, in understanding Islam.
The core of their belief system.
The core of their belief has been attacked as a result of this globalization. Because the power of the globalization and the power of the social media is so fierce and so strong that if you are not well equipped, if you do not have the best understanding and the best intellect and knowledge, you will be able to be swept away. The tides tend to take you away, and you will drift and go until you have lost your religious identity.
And it's happened quite a lot. I can only speak on behalf of London, my city, but it has happened a lot around the world as well. I've received countless messages of people, asking questions. My friend has listened to this video, listened to so-and-so, and they are no longer, for example, wearing hijab, no longer attending majalis, no longer believing what they used to believe in, what they had strong aqidah in. And it gets worse and worse. Some people have even turned atheists because of the things they find online.
Of course.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits, if I can say, of being in Karbala, at least the benefits that we have shared over the last week or two, that being in Karbala, you are in a religious environment. By only looking and being present in Bain al-Haramain, you feel this sense of relaxation in terms of your faith and your belief. But back home in London,
you have nothing to pull you.
The environment and the atmosphere pulls you.
Yes.
Especially at this time and age, where this pandemic has caused many of the centers and many of the community places to stop their services temporarily.
Yeah.
And when it had to happen in Muharram, which is the core time, the concentration of all the mawakib and all the organizations, is that they concentrate on organizing majalis over the 10, 12 nights, the 30 nights of Muharram, and encouraging the youth to come to the centers and listen to lectures. So here this is helping, unfortunately, is fueling the loss of identity. And this is exactly not much different from the time of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The core reason why Abu Abdullah al-Hussein sought reform and revolted against that deviant organization was because people were losing their religious identity. So the time now can be related to the time of how the Muslims, or the so-called Muslims, were living at the time of Hussein. They were losing their religious identity.
But like, if we link it back to the positive use of social media, that could be another platform. People are stuck at home. They're going to be on their phones 24/7. There's no doubt about that. People are stuck to their phones, to their TVs. They have a choice to make. Either they go towards something that's not going to benefit their aqidah, or something like IMAM HUSSEIN TV, where we'll bring them shows and live views from Karbala. And I think we can show a view from the street. Sorry to cut you off, Sayyidina, but if we can see the procession that's done in the street, it's an honor of Al-Qasim, son of Imam Hassan. I think it's important to show the viewers this atmosphere of Karbala. It's incredible. It's been going on since the afternoon.
And the majority of the people in this procession are youth.
Yeah.
And you have to look hard to find if there is elder individual, 40, 50, 60-year-old, because they have done their duty.
They've done their duty, they've done this.
Now this is the turn of the youth, and it's the responsibility of these youth to show and educate the smaller, younger ones. That in a few years' time, we will sit aside and you will have to continue.
It's not just something that, it's good to show the youth, but I think it's a responsibility for us as Shia. It's a duty, something we have to do, is to teach them what we were taught.
Exactly.
Because then it will be lost.
Of course.
We'll miss a generation, then a lot of things will get inserted into it. A lot of youth will get pulled away, as they already have, which is a shame. So, inshallah, we can.
Inshallah, it's difficult, but inshallah, we will have the support of Imam Sahib al-Zaman to continue our work. So, we need to aim towards creating leaders for tomorrow, because there is a famous statement that says that the youth of today will be the leaders of tomorrow. But that tomorrow needs to be guided in a certain principle. There should be certain principles to maintain a healthy and productive, it's very important, a healthy and productive personality and society. If you are able to educate that single youth to be healthy in his mentality, in his intellect, in his belief, in his morals, then through that one personality you will be able to create a wider society. So the offspring of that society will be youth of today and leaders of tomorrow. And that is very important.
Very important to build the right foundations, because if they become leaders with the wrong foundation and the wrong principles and beliefs, then they'll just be leading people astray. So like you said, the tomorrow is not just, okay, leaders of tomorrow, anyone can be a leader. It has to be taught the right way, it has to be guided the right way. There must be certain blocks built for this youth to become a leader. You can't just hand the keys to someone and tell them
you go and take responsibility.
There's a system, there's a method to it.
So there must be, it's of utmost importance, it's, let's say, pertinent to acquire moral standards and values which would lead the progress of the society, because society without progress is a dead society. A society has always, it needs to be always producing.
I'm going to ask you a question, Said. If somebody was looking to get into a leadership position, where should he or she look? In which direction should they look for guidance? I think that's very important, because a lot of people who do want to get into leadership positions have the qualities of a leader, but don't have, like we mentioned, the blocks. Where would they look? Where would they go?
We are in Muharram, and we are learning from the school of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and that standard has been set by Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And that the standard for a leadership, we can always go back to Imam Hussein and find out what standards he had left for us, so we can learn from. Imam alayhi salam, Imam Hussein wrote a letter to his brother Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. O Muhammad, indeed, I have not risen to do mischief, neither as an adventurer. إني لم أخرج أشرا ولا بطرا ولا مفسدا ولا ظالما, neither as an adventurer nor to cause corruption or tyranny. So the Imam continues in saying, I have risen solely to seek reform of the Ummah, the nation of my grandfather, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is the standard organized by Imam salamullahi alayhi for a youth who wants to engage and go up the ladder to reach the platform of leadership. That when you want to do anything in terms of leadership, first of all, do not rise, do not work, do not start off in the intention of causing mischief. Because many of our youth, as soon as they want to do anything, he sees, I've got power, I have muscles, I have energy.
They do something for the sake of doing it. You know, I've got the power, why not do it?
And the Imam continues in saying, neither as an adventurer, it's an adventure for me, I want to go and I want to just engage in it, and whatever happens, happens. It's not guesswork. Being a youth leader needs planning.
It needs to be educated steps.
And the Imam tells you, be careful you don't fall into corruption and tyranny. Because this is the most dangerous place, that a youth seeking leadership or seeking to be an individual that will help other youth to seek the right path, is that they might fall into the path of corruption and tyranny. They will say, like Fir'aun used to say, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. And we have seen many examples of that.
We have seen many.
That individuals become responsible and in charge of organizations or societies or communities, and as a result of that, they tend to forget the sole reason why they are in charge of these groups. They turn to tyranny and deviation. I have risen solely to seek reform of the ummah of my grandfather, I want to command, enjoin the good, al-amr bil-ma'roof, wal-nahi anil munkar, and stop or forbid what is wrong or evil. And in reaching this point, this level, again, the standard, any youth wanting to reach that level, who do I have to follow? I need to follow the footsteps of the one that Imam Hussein followed in their footsteps. The Imam says, and in reaching that, I am planning to follow the conduct of my grandfather and my father Ali ibn Abi Talib. So without the following of the morals and the values and the conducts of the Holy Prophet of Islam and Amir al-Mu'mineen, do not even dream of reaching a level where you would be able to be a leader wanting the good for your community and society.
But how much, I think there's a few points to touch on, but I just wanted to ask this question because yes, there's a lot of chance and opportunity for the youth to go astray, and there's a lot of opportunity for them to do positive. But how much positive has already been done in our communities by the youth? From your experiences, from your travels around the world, what have you seen that's been a positive outset by specifically the youth in terms of their work on the streets, in remembrance of the Ahlul Bayt, in terms of the majalis that they produce? What have you seen, Sayyid?
First, to find out what is positive, we have to find out what is negative. And what is negative is we have to go back and look at the time of Yazid ibn Muawiyah and what caused Imam Hussein to seek reform and revolt against Yazid. Because Imam Hussein, by revolting, he done good, he done positive work. So what was Yazid doing which was negative that resulted in Imam Hussein revolting and doing positive? I will inform the brothers and sisters to find out the negative points within a community, and when you see the negative points, you will be able to distinguish what has been done by the youth as a positive work. Islam had reached a position at the time of Yazid ibn Muawiyah and the ruling government under the rule of Bani Umayyah, where they had committed themselves in misguidance and abandoning the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you see an individual or a group of people or an atmosphere within your community which is full of misguidance and encouraging the youth or the community to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then know that you should be doing vice versa. Now, misguidance and disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our youth today, and the best example we can take is the youth that we have in London and in the UK. They set the best example for a well-organized youthful institute in propagating the message of Ahlul Bayt in advanced manners. What do I mean by that? And you can share this experience with me. Is that, for example, in birthdays of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, in events associated to Ahlul Bayt, for example, the birthday of Rasulullah or the Ba'tha of Rasulullah, the youth go out of their way to organize for food baskets or packages along roses with short messages. They go out to the Western society, hand them over, explaining to them that this is the message of Islam. Because this Western society, or the society that we are living in, is full of misguidance, is full of disobedience towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the only way we can cure that problem is by taking the message of Ahlul Bayt in an advanced manner and converting it to the Western society. This is one of the best ways. Our youth today are organizing, especially with their societies, with their youth societies, in colleges and universities. They organize evenings or days where they place banners and posters and leaflets and discuss the event, whether it's a good event, a happy event, or a martyrdom or a shahada of a specific individual from Ahlul Bayt, and they call people through these discussions and the distribution of propaganda.
So they use the platform that they have with people they see every day in their lectures, in their social rooms in the university, and they invite them to their events, social events, discuss it, you know, light and breezy. This is what happened, this is why I'm wearing black, this is the month of mourning. Now, I've experienced a lot of this myself in these societies. We organize a lot of events ourselves, me and people who are very close friends to me now, in fact.
Yes.
We would literally put up banners, get permission from the university, put up big Ya Hussein flags, and hand out leaflets.
Exactly.
Because this is a question opener. People ask questions. Sunnis used to approach me. Christians, atheists used to approach me. Why is there a black banner? You know, what's going on? Why are you wearing black all of a sudden for a whole week? Has someone died? Are you okay? Are you going through depression? They start asking questions. And that's a platform for me to then explain to them, you know, we are remembering, we are commemorating a man, for example, if it's about Imam Hussein, you're commemorating a man who stood up against injustice. You know, you guys are doing protests every week about injustice, but this is the man who done 1,400 years ago.
Yes.
This is the man who stood up for women's rights.
Of course.
Stood up for freedom of slaves, stood up for freedom of thought and movement. You know, this is something that we are bringing back to society and making you aware of. The sacrifice that about.
There are many events.
Yeah, there are plenty all over the UK.
For example, one of the events is that you join in the festive seasons, the celebrations, at times of, for example, their New Year's or their Christmas. I can see individuals back home of our youth, they also make food baskets and they go and distribute it to poor people sleeping rough on the streets of the UK, of London, for example. So here, this is the positive work.
One thing to mention on that as well, Al-Akbar Foundation, who we just saw doing the procession of Al-Qasim, every Christmas what they do, and it's something that's beautiful, it's Christmas, it's not an Islamic festival, but what they do is they bring in presents and take it to children's hospitals, you know, kids who are suffering, kids who are not able to spend Christmas with their families, but in the name of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam,
they use that to propagate for Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam.
It's amazing work, and you know, I'm with them every year throughout these occasions, and it's a lot of hard work, but the outcome is something that you cannot count in numbers.
So, taking lessons from the time of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, going back to the time of Imam Hussein, and the time of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, where Bani Umayyah, at the time of Imam Hussein, they gave legitimacy to corruption, and they abolished the Islamic laws, and they plundered the public treasury, Baytul Mal, where Muawiyah writes to his governors that anyone that you see carrying the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib in his heart, wipe away his name, scratch his name off from being supported financially. Or he writes to the judges, the judiciary at that time, that if anyone comes in your courts wanting to give you any piece of information and they are from the lovers of Ali ibn Abi Talib, do not accept a word they say. So here the youth of today, when they see that people are giving legitimacy to corruption, they should use such events to call for the purification of hearts, the purification of minds, and to help nourish and purify the community and society.
It's not just about mourning, it's about reflecting that mourning into action.
Exactly.
Into action.
And this is what the young 13-year-old son of Al-Imam Al-Hassan, salawatullahi alayhi, who was educated in the house of Imam Al-Hassan, and then continued in receiving knowledge in the house of Abi Abdullah Al-Hussein, he carried that message and he put it in the best of use on the plains of Karbala. Being a youth, he was able to go and do whatever he wanted, enjoy his life. Being from a noble family, and who had wealth, who had power.
It would not have been anything bad on his part. It would have been the most normal thing.
The wealth was there. People respected his family. he would have been able to go and live life
Very easily.
very easily. But what did he decide to do? He decided, and he spoke out about his decision on the night of Ashura.
Subhanallah.
On the night of Ashura, Al-Qasim ibn al-Imam al-Hassan was amongst the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam when he informed them that tomorrow I will be killed and you will be killed as well. And you will reach the level of martyrdom. Qasim, the son of Imam al-Hassan, was sitting amongst the companions. He said, Ammah ya Hussein, am I going to be amongst the martyrs tomorrow?
Allah.
A 13-year-old.
Allah.
A 13-year-old who today is engaged on games on the phone and on TV and internet. But you see, the 13-year-old son of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam asks his uncle such a tragic question.
What an upbringing.
Amma ya Hussein, am I going to be amongst the martyrs tomorrow? I'm going to be killed.
Assalamu ala al-Qasim.
And then Imam Hussein alayhi salam wanted to test his ability. He said, وَكَيْفَ تَرَى الْمَوْتِ?
Allah.
And how do you see death? Al-Qasim here. Again, I want to concentrate on the fact that he was 13. Don't say that he was 13 and he is the son of Hassan. He was 13, but he received the education as we are receiving the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt today. But is the upbringing, is the tarbiyah, is the values and the morals. كيف ترى الموت بين يدي عمك الحسين؟ said عماه بين يديك أحلى من العسل.
Allahu Akbar.
And this still echoes that anyone that walks on the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and strives to be with Abu Abdullah al-Husayn in every place of his life, in every level of his life, he will see life sweeter than honey.
Allahu Akbar.
But it takes that simple decision to make the first move.
It all comes down to a split-second decision. No matter what situation you're in, it's about a decision. Am I going to do this? Am I going to stand with Abu Abdullah? Am I going to hold this majlis? Am I going to go for ziyarah? Yes or no? It's about making that decision.
Make that decision.
And going ahead with it.
Participate, mourn.
Ahsant.
Uphold the rituals of Hussein, because by upholding the rituals of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, you will be able to elevate yourself. Make a better life for yourself and for your next generation and for the society.
Ahsan Sayyidina. Now, you started with something that brought a tear to my eye. Just that statement, أحلى من العسل. Death between the hands of Abi Abdullah al-Husayn for the sake of Imam al-Husayn is sweeter than honey. Inshallah, you can bring more tears, not just to my eyes, but to the viewers, Sayyidina, with the masa'ib of the Ahlul Bayt. As always, the most important part of the show, in my opinion, breaking the hearts of the viewers, especially on these holy nights. There are 2 nights left until Ashura. I don't know how we'll feel on the night of Ashura. I can't even go into that right now. But inshallah, for this show, you will bless us, Sayyid, with the masa'ib of Imam al-Husayn, of al-Qasim, son of Imam al-Hassan. So if you can honor us, Sayyidina, and you can hopefully learn from the masa'ib and not allow us to shed a tear.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. In a night like tonight, let's remember the youth of Karbala. Let's remind ourselves of the bravery of a 13-year-old son of Al-Qasim ibn al-Imam al-Hussein. This 13-year-old gave us the best of lessons on the plains of Karbala. Lessons in bravery, lessons in sacrifice, lessons in obeying the master and the imam of the time. On the day of Ashura, after the companions one by one entered the battlefield and reached the status of martyrdom, reached Shahada, it was the turn of Bani Hashim. Ali al-Akbar went to the battlefield and reached Shahada. Then it was the turn of the sons of Al-Imam al-Hussein. It is narrated Qasim came, stood before his uncle Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He asked permission to go to the battlefield, but the Imam said to him, "O Qasim, you are the only remembrance left for me from my brother Hussein. I want to keep you in my camp, because every time I look at you, I remember my brother Hussein." Here Qasim bows down, puts his gaze down and starts crying and weeping. He goes back to his mother. His mother says to him, "Why are you crying? Why do I see you in such a state?" He explains to her that, "Mother, my uncle Hussein does not agree with me going to the battlefield. Overall, he is 13 years old." Qasim's mother dresses Qasim in the clothing of his father Hussein. She puts on his helmet and his turban. The turban of Imam Hassan is on his head. The clothing of his Imam Hassan is on his body. And the sword of his father is carried by Al-Qasim. He comes to his uncle. "Amma ya Aba Abdullah, لقد سئمت الحياة ولا طاقة لي على البقاء في الخيمة. أما إن أمي هي التي أمرتني بذلك وألبستني لامة حربي. إن أبي هو الذي أوصاني بنصرتك يوم لا ناصر لك ولا معين." My father is the one that instructed me in a will that if you see your uncle Hussein all alone in difficulty on the plains of Karbala, whilst there is no one to help him, to support him, do not neglect supporting your uncle Hussein. عما ألا ترى الأطفال قد غارت عيونهم من العطش، ألا ترى الرضيع وقد جف اللبن في ثدي أمه. Uncle Hussein, do you not see the little children, how their eyesight, how their gaze has changed, has been affected as a result of the thirst? Oh, Uncle Hussein, even the little 6-month-old infant, your son Abdullah al-Radhi, he's dying of thirst. هل أذنت لي فدتك نفسي يا عمار. Then it is narrated that Imam Hussein alayhi salam takes, embraces Qasim, he hugs him, and they cry for a long time until they both faint. Then when they regain their consciousness, Imam Hussein alayhi salam gives permission for Qasim to go to the battlefield. Qasim, 13 years old, comes to the battlefield. It is narrated that at that young age he killed 35 grown men from the army of Umar ibn Sa'd. 35 enemies of Abu Abdullah. A 13-year-old, the son of the brave of Arab. Then Hamid ibn Muslim, who was in the camp of Bani Umayyah, says, خرج علينا غلام لم يبلغ الحلم كفلقة قمر. Hamid ibn Muslim, a journalist, says, we saw a ghulam, a youth who had not reached the age of adulthood, a 13-year-old, come out to the battlefield. By Allah, imagine until what state Hussein's time has reached that a 13-year-old has to come out on the battlefield and defend his uncle Hussein. One of the enemies of Allah by the name of Amr ibn Sa'd al-Azdi said, Wallah la ashuddanna alayh. Whilst fighting the enemies, Qasim's laces, his footwear's laces opened up. He bowed down to fix his laces. فانقطع شسع عليه هوى إلى الأرض ليصلحان عليه. He went down. As he was bowing down, this Amr ibn Sa'd al-Azdi struck Qasim on the head. Al-Qasim, after chanting these words, إن تنكروني فأنا نجل الحسن سبط النبي المصطفى والمؤتمن هذا حسين كالأسير المرتهن بين أناس لاصقوا صوب المزون. He called out, عماه يا حسين أدركني عليك مني السلام. It is narrated his uncle Hussein ran towards the body of Qasim. He saw him in that situation. He made the following statement: عز على عمك أن تدعوه فلا يجيبك أو يجيبك فلا ينفعك. There is nothing I can do for you, O Qasim, because the enemy of Allah, not only he struck him on his head, but he had beheaded Qasim. لقاه من الجرح على القاع طايح وشاف شلون دم الراس سايح. صاح هنا يا جاسم وين رايح تخليني وحيد ومالي معين. لقاه يعالج يفحص برجليه يلوج برقبته وداي نور. اليلوج ورقبته ودم نحره يفور. بكى بكى the Imam cries for قاسم. بكى وناداه يا جاسم شبيدي ريت السيف قبلك حز وريدي. يا هون لكم تخلوني وحيدي على خيمي عم الخيل تفتر. يا على خيمي عم الخيل يفتر. He carries Qasim's body. Imagine a 13-year-old. How tall would Qasim be? Qasim was young. But the narrators narrate, as a result of this tragedy, Abu Abdullah carried Qasim, but Qasim's feet was being dragged on the plains of Karbala. Abi Abdullah ordered the women not to come out of the tents. Why? Because the mother of Qasim, the sisters of Qasim, the auntie Zainab will not be able to look at the body of Qasim lying there. Imam brought Qasim inside the martyr's tent. He placed Qasim's body alongside the body of Ali Al-Akbar. Lady Zainab waiting. Why is my brother Hussein taking so long? Why does he not leave the tent? Here Lady Zainab came out fearing for the life of her brother Hussein. Why? Because losing his son is so tragic, is so terrible, is so painful. But again, losing a beloved son to his heart like Qasim is even worse. She came, she entered the tent of the Shuhada and looked at Imam Hussein. At one time, he places his sight on the body of Ali Al-Akbar. Another time, he looks at the blood-drained body of Qasim, and he's crying, he's weeping, he's mourning for the loss of these individuals that were like Filqatu Qamar. Do you know what Filqatu Qamar means? It means their faces were so luminous. It represented the moon. It represented the light of the moon. It is narrated the mother of Qasim asked for permission to go and see the result of Qasim's sacrifice. Lady Zainab came to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Akhi ya Hussein, the mother of Qasim wants to come into this tent and mourn for her son Qasim. Here the Imam gives permission for the women to come inside. The mother of Qasim came into the tent, threw herself on the body of her 13-year-old and started hitting her face and hitting her head, calling out, "Wa walada ya wa Qasima ya." It was difficult for a mother like the mother of Qasim to see her beloved son in that state, in that situation. But I want to take you to another scene, and another mother sat beside the body of her son. That was Fatima Zahra sitting beside the decapitated body of Imam Hussein, her side, on the afternoon of Ashura. On the eve of Ashura, it is narrated that Fatima Zahra, alongside and accompanied by her father Rasulullah, by her husband Amir al-Mu'minin, and by her son Hassan, they came besides the body of Hussein. She asked her father, Ya Aba ya Rasulallah, هل تأذن لي أن أخذب رأسي وشعري بدمي وريد الحسين? Oh father, do you permit me to take some of the blood of the wounds and the neck of Hussein and cover my head and my face with it? Rasulullah says to her, نعم خذبي ونحن نخذب. أهل البيت, the four from أصحاب الكساء, they came besides the body of Hussein. What body? What was left from the body of Hussein? The head was separated, the arms were cut off, there were stab wounds to the body of Hussein. They took blood from the body of Hussein and they started wiping the blood, covering the blood on their heads and their faces. من الوالدة والقلب لهفان ودور عزبني وين ما كان اسعدني على ابني التحبني. Fatima Zahra wants us to share the pain and to mourn with her beloved son Husain. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We recite this holy verse لتعجيل الفرج ولشفاء المرضى ولقضاء الحوائج. نقرأ هذه الآية الشريفة المباركة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. Oh Allah, the day of Ashura is drawing closer to us. Ya Allah, we ask you to continue blessing us with the opportunity to serve our master, the master of martyrs, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the awaited Imam Sahib al-Zaman and grant us to be amongst the servants of this holy Imam and the martyrs before Imam Sahib al-Zaman. Oh Allah, we ask you to grant us the pleasure of looking to the sight of the face of Imam al-Mahdi. Allahumma ardi anna Imam zamanina. Allahumma arzuqna tawfiq khidmat majalis al-Husain. Allahumma arzuqna khidmat al-sha'air al-Husainiyah. Oh Allah, grant us the opportunity to uphold the rituals of Hussein, the sha'air of Hussein, the mourning and the lamentation for Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, the beating of the chest and the striking of the head. O Allah, do not take us out of this world until you are pleased and happy with us. لا تخرجنا من الدنيا حتى ترضى عنا. ارزقنا في الدنيا زيارة علي والحسين في الدنيا وشفاعتهم في الآخرة. And we send the thawab of this majlis to the souls of the marhumin إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات من مات على الإيمان خدمة الحسين، من لم يذكرهم ذاكر، رحم الله من بعث لهم ثواب سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.